G'day and welcome to the Game Face Footy Show. My name's Russell Robertson and we are here in Studio A at Game Face HQ. And we're going to be talking everything outer east from Premier Division all the way down to Division 2. I've got two guys that know everything outer east. I'm speaking of course of the coach and Matt Foddy. How are you guys?
Well, I'd say I'm good, thanks, Robbo, but am I sitting up straight? Because my mum, who's dear departed mum, always tells me sit up straight. So you just tap me on the shoulder, Matty, if I'm not, but you're slouching.
Go with it, mate. We're going to be sitting here for a while talking about all the footy, so get comfortable.
We are going to be talking everything football in the outer east, and there wasn't a lot of football on the weekend because we brought around round 8?
Round 9 came forward,
and it was a standalone match between Berwick and Narre Warren, and it was a corker, boys. Let's go straight into it because you've got about 3 or 4 minutes to talk about the match of the round, I suppose, because there was only one.
Yeah, no, they took advantage of that as well with the crowd numbers. Well, there was about 1,000 people there for both footy and netball, but it was a great atmosphere at Edwin Flack up there with the nice viewing area, the way that sort of the hill on the side of the ground works, coach, to get a nice view over the reserve.
Nice.
And it played host to a cracking day, cracking the flags with the weather out there, and it was a good game of footy in terms of intensity and tempo and the tension because of the scores, but the skill level probably just wasn't quite there. But that'll come throughout the year as players get used to that tempo. Practice matches are that for a reason. Then they're just a bit of practice, aren't they? So once the sides get into it, I think the skill level will improve. But it was a good opening for the new era of outer east footy.
Now, I will admit, let's kick this off straight away. I'll only say where I am at games when I'm not at games. I'm not going to make up anything, and I can tell you right now I wasn't at that game. I apologise to all the outer east fans and, of course, to the old two Sefnal clubs in Narre Warren and Berwick. What I need to ask you, though, Matty, is Stewie Kemperman, of course, he left Berwick. There was rumours, mutterings that his style was too defensive. Have they changed?
To a degree. The run-off halfback was quite impressive, but I still think they lack probably a centre forward. Geordie Anderson played at centre forward, the big Mack truck, big fella. Probably failed to have any impact on the game, bar sort of a minute period where he ran through 2 blokes and was able to set up one of the goals. Their midfield drive they probably had more depth in the midfield, but they probably got a lot of their goals from clearance work and stoppages, and there wasn't much free-flowing end-to-end. Will Arthurson and Hillard running off halfback were quite good. But I'd like to think that as the year goes on, they'll be able to play with a bit more freedom. They were still very sort of regimented and very structured going forward. There wasn't much sort of flair. It was very chip. And I know it's a big ground, so there's probably a lot more kicks than if they come out to Olinda or stuff and they can only have 2 kicks inside forward 50. But there was pretty slow movement from them. But to be honest, Narre Warren wanted that. They'd set a lot of numbers behind the ball and they were setting up to sort of soak pressure and get them on the hop, and which they did that pretty well. But their ball skills moving forward, Trent Cody in the flashy yellow boots, he was probably their best ball user. And unless he was the one breaking forward, Narre Warren were pretty poor delivering inside forward 50.
It's always the way, boys. Round 1, first game, especially a build one, standalone, the skills are going to be a little bit scratchy, and that happens at AFL level all the way down, so you can only expect that's going to improve. I'll ask you, Matty, a new competition, it's a new setup. Is it settled now? Are all clubs happy with the way it is? I know it's probably early days to say it because a lot of the teams haven't played yet, but 2 have now. They've been playing against each other for a while. How's the feeling as you walked in through the gates?
I think everyone's pretty excited that footy's finally happened. I know we are down in the AFL Outer East headquarters ourselves. That now the ball's bounced, we can sort of move on and look forward to just the footy season. Everyone was a bit nervous to see how they go. There was rumours that Berwick were 10 goals better than anyone, and Narre were quite nervous themselves, apparently going into the reserves game, and they ended up winning the reserves by 6 goals, and they thought they were going to get their pants pulled down. So I think the best part about it was a close game, and for those Valley clubs that came out and watched, the fear of Berwick, the way Berwick were being built up on the off-season was like you were going to play against the Geelong Cats of 2007, when really it is just another local footy side. Yes, they've got some money, but that's because they're a well-run club. It's not just someone coming in and pumping money into the joint. They are very well-run, and they played good footy, but I wouldn't be scared if I were any of the Yarra Valley clubs. I'd be more scared of the way they run off the field than on the field.
Well, I can tell you now, any team going to Berwick, it's pretty tough to win at Berwick, isn't it? That ground you're talking about, because certain teams think they've got to kick a certain way when it gets a little bit down.
Yeah, you struggle. I think they struggle, Narre Warren, and they'd know more about it, so it'll be interesting to see how the Yarra Valley clubs go. You need someone who's pretty mobile at centre forward. You almost need 2 centre forwards, one for one side of the ground, one for the other, to sort of play that link man, sort of like Tom Lynch or Jack Gunston for Hawthorn and Adelaide, where they're a key forward that basically take a lot of the ball on the wing. So I thought neither side had that, and that's what made it pretty hard for them to score quickly from defence. Aaron Wilson did pretty well for Narry, kicked 3 goals, but they sort of had to put him up to centre forward, which then took away from their goal scoring threat. So Narry sort of needed more. I think, is it Cox? I can't remember his first name. Is it Mitchell Cox? Probably struggled a bit, and so did Michael Collins. Struggled to get some impact up the ground, which meant that slingshot version on that massive ground, you really need that next kick to be good, and they were struggling with that, Narry. Berwick were the same, but Travis Stuck he fits in wherever you need him. He started deep forward, and then started the second quarter, went on ball for 10 minutes and swung the game back their way. So, and his height stands out, Travis Stuck. He wasn't that tall you didn't think he was that tall when you watched him play AFL, but he was probably almost close to one of the tallest players on the ground on Saturday.
What about the money man? How do you go, Harry Money?
I like the money man. I like his whole get-up. I enjoy a bit of flair. He's got the top-knot dreadlocks and the tan skin, and he looked like he wanted to jump on bloke's head. It was a bit weird when we looked out at the structures, and the key forward for Berwick was about 5'3", but he's hard to match up on. He reminded me of Mark Williams. Remember Mark Williams from Essendon and Hawthorn, the sharpshooter?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, of course. He reminded me of him. He just sort of crafty on the lead, was able to take pack marks, liked to jump on bloke's head, and he was pretty accurate. He kicked 4-3, but he kicked them when they mattered. Kicked 2 goals in the last quarter to bring it from scores level to 2 goals the difference with about a minute to go. So.
Got the name to boot too, Coach.
Yeah, time and money. There's plenty you can do with money in there as well. When you call, I know when he was calling it, the hardest part was trying to figure out which catch line you were going to go with when he got near the. When he got the ball on the run, it was a bit of money. But there'll be other times throughout the year I'll be able to spend an hour just sort of figuring them out. But no, it was good to watch, and the best part was it was a goal of difference. Everyone can take a deep breath, Robbo, and go, oh, they're not that scary.
Well, I'll tell you what, Narry Warren will be pretty happy with that result, being within a kick of Berwick. They'll be happy walking off the ground. Let's go to an injury update brought to you by Body First Health. Matty, I'll go to you.
Yeah, the only one we can really comment on, there's a few boys that came off a bit groggy from hits behind the play in pack marks, but the main one is was the captain of the day, co-captain Bryce Rutherford for Berwick. Coach, looks like he may have a suspected ACL, so it's pretty bad news for the Wickers. I think that's both their co-captains now. So Lucas Jellyman-Turner will have to take the armband, and hopefully he won't do his knee as well, because it might be cursed. But it's suspected, so he obviously won't have confirmation. He probably went in for scans sometimes this week when he got time off work or whatever he does during the day. But he was going pretty well early on. The first quarter started with like a house on fire, big-bodied mid, and unfortunately we didn't see him after quarter time.
We certainly don't want that in a round 1, albeit a round 9 match, but it was the first game. You don't want an injury in the first game. That's not what you're after. Match of the round, of course, Berwick defeated Narry Warren 10-17-77 to 10-11-71. Best players, we spoke a bit about Harry Money, 4 goals. And we sent Plugger down there, and he caught up with Harry Money after the game.
I'm in the Berwick rooms, and I'm with one of the players that absolutely took over the game in the last 10 minutes of this one, Harry Money, who booted 2 goals in the last quarter. Happy to get the win over Narry.
Yeah, it's always good to get the win over Narry. Massive rivals from obviously when we're in the southeast, but yeah, it's always good to get the year off started on the right way.
You had a good day today, Money. You booted 4, and as I said, 2 in the last 10 minutes. You cashed in.
That's it. I thought I might have to set my alarm after the first quarter. I couldn't kick it to save my life, but it was lucky they eventually started coming off straight, which is good for me and the boys.
Narry kept coming all day, especially in that last quarter. They probably had most of the play. What were you thinking when the scores were level, before you did kick those 2 goals?
Honestly, just get it down here and let the forwards do what they're there for, which is take marks, kick goals. But they were a great side today. You look at their list and you think, it's going to be an easy game, but they're always a good team to play against, which is good.
And talking about your list too, you've had Pup go down in the game today as well, and Shep's done his ACL, so you guys aren't having a full squad at the moment either, and probably won't for the year. How'd you guys go without those 2 blokes on the field for the game today?
It was massive to come away from this game today with the 4 points, especially you take away those 2, they're arguably top 20 players in the league, top 10 players. So they're massive holes in the list, but it also gives new challenges to other players to step up without them, which is good.
Plugger with the money man, boys. I mean, there's a lot of, you could go with a lot there.
We're up there in the AFL Outer East media van up on the hill there, Edwin Flack. Great view of everything, Coach. And 3/4 time I thought there's a bloke carrying around some sort of metal contraption. There was Plugger, as he is just barging through packs like his namesake. Didn't care who was in the way, walked straight from the Narry Warren huddle, got the fend off from Matt Shinners, went across, just tripod in hand at 3/4 time. And it would have, I think a few people, if he comes out the valley and does that, I think a few people will give him the sneaky eye there going, what's this bloke doing, the stink eye?
He won't be, I'll be doing it. So,
I'll tell you what.
So I'm a grumpy old man, so come at me.
Yeah,
please, come
I don't know how Plugger would have handled it out that way. He took the easy game, didn't he, Berwick and Narry? But yeah, interesting sort of setup.
You'll see me everywhere. I'll be in and out the rooms. I asked permission.
Yeah.
Although I was in a room on the weekend at a match on the Sunday, and they said, "Has Game Face got a camera in here?" At half time, I went, "No camera, no hidden camera. You want to search?"
Got a wire,
I just
got a
wanna
wire.
hear what you got to say. So you will be seeing me around.
Oh yeah, Game Face is everywhere. Don't you worry about that. Plugger wants us to call him Tripod, but we flat out refuse.
Well, he was playing up until last year. He's a decent player.
Yeah, we've got some up.
It's gone over your head, hasn't it, Coach?
Yeah, I did.
Upcoming games, Premier
I'm not
League.
going there.
Alinda versus Narry Warren is next up, boys. Let's go for it.
Obviously, Narry will have a bit of momentum despite losing. They'll have played a proper game and they'll probably be better for it. But they've now gone from one of the biggest grounds in the comp to Alinda, which is one of the smallest grounds, and it can be a bit foggy. And you've been there, around that area, of course, Coach. I like Alinda. Their coach was there on the weekend. I think he was one of the ones with a big sigh of relief. They'll be pretty confident now after seeing that game plan. And the slingshot plan in Narry Warren, I don't know how it's going to go on the small ground. It takes out the need for a centre-half forward, but it also means that it's quite hard to just put numbers behind the ball when you're only 60 out from goal at the centre bounce. So it'll be interesting to see how Narry cope with that. Dylan Quirk, though, he'll make the most of the physical stuff. He's a big body man, and I think he'll do pretty well, but I'm tipping Alinda.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going with Narry Warren because I said right at the start they're my smoke, even though the grand.
You've got to stick with them, don't you?
I'm going to stick with them because they got within a kick on the weekend. That's not because they're from Sefnal or anywhere else. I just think they're playing it pretty well.
Well, 1 for 1 there. There is an adjustment. There is a training that you have to get used to smaller grounds. If you come from a bigger ground to a smaller ground, or vice versa, I always found that. I mean,
Would you say it's easier going from small to big?
I think it's going from big to small is a real difficult one because I can only talk from my AFL days and playing at the MCG, which is a massive ground, and then you go and play at Sydney, or you play at Geelong, which is long and thin. My good self. You really get thrown. You know, there's an extra kick, or there's you're right. Centre half forward's the one that probably suffers.
I think So it'll be interesting to see how Narry Warren do it because they've come from that game plan. Looked like it was pretty suited. If they'd had a centre forward, they might have won. Yeah, Linda. Marcus Hodges is going to be a big one too.
They're not going to go up there not knowing that the ground isn't small.
Oh, they'll know, but it's whether they can train for it.
Yeah, I want to quick, and this is something I will do during the year, Rob. I'll digress, and then Will's probably going to pull his hair out because I'm going to talk too much. But I just want to ask you about Waverley. When you played on Waverley, because I'd spoken to some players that used to play on Waverley, and they said that it took them so much longer to recover after a game on Waverley. Is that right?
Well, absolutely. And I found it a lot harder to recover after, what do they call it now, Marvel Stadium. And back in the day it was the Telstra Dome, because it was a lot harder.
Well, it's a car park underneath.
Absolutely. But playing out at Waverley, the difference was there is you'd be out in the wing and to centre the ball, it's almost 3 kicks into the middle of the ground, you know, because you can't be centering the ball 40 metres with a big long kick. Anywhere else, it's just a short chip into the middle, so the corridor becomes really relevant. But at Waverley, there were corridors everywhere.
Yeah.
So you just have to train these grounds, and I'm sure that's what they're doing at Premier Division. I mean, a great league.
Beaconsfield have got the advantage there. They've got 3 grounds in the one vicinity, and they've also got their old ground just down the road. So if they need, I think I spoke to their vice president, Shane Boland, and he said, well, when we're playing at Alinda, we'll train on that ground, and when we're playing at home, we'll train on our ground.
Makes sense.
They've got the jump on everyone in that regard.
Yeah, professional setups at footy clubs these days. Doesn't matter whether it's VFL, AFL, all the way down suburban levels. People are training pretty well. I like what I see. Let's go to the next game. Hillsville versus Upwey Tacoma. I'll hand it over.
Well, I'm going to go Upwey Tacoma because I think there has been some recruiting done there. I'm not sure if we know too much about that, but a little birdie tells me they've done some decent recruiting at this stage. Hillsville usually there or about, but I'm going to go with Upwey Tacoma on that one.
Yeah, I'll join you there, Coach. They've David Bell's the coach. Still pretty good footy in him at only 31, 32, and Casey Demon's list a few years ago, and Upwey picked up a couple. Pierce Rooney from South Croydon, premiership player at South Croydon a couple of years ago. He'll be a big one. Lachlan Shepherd has come across as well, but I think Hillsville are going to struggle. They might be left behind this year, so I'm tipping Upwey.
Hillsville, a beautiful place in the world. Huh?
It is, and that's another big ground. So that's probably the biggest ground in the valley. So that'll be one of the grounds where Berwick and Beaky will go out and feel right at home.
Let's go to 2 southern clubs now. Cranbourne versus Beaconsfield. This looks like it's going to be a bit of a good match.
Crenny, they've lost a fair amount of players. Was it 4 or 5 at least? And big
names.
The big Mark
Holdy.
Holdy, who had a ball on the weekend. He kicked 7 for Coringal in a Div 2 game in the MPNFL and should have kicked 8.
Yeah.
Such a lovely, unassuming sort of a bloke off the field, though.
He is, but he's an absolute machine.
But anyway,
alter ego.
He just hasn't left Cranny. He's left a complete division, not a division, a complete league. So they're going to miss him. Yeah. So, look, Beaconsfield, solid team. I think they'll win this game.
Before you go to your tip, Matty, it is an opportunity for Cranbourne now because they've had Holdy there for so long, and it
For those other players.
For somebody else to step up now, and somebody at Cranbourne says, "Well, now it's my opportunity," so it might be a good thing. You never know.
Yeah, it's the same with Richmond in the AFL at the moment. They've got 4 blokes injured. It'll be a chance for someone to step up. But I'm with Coach. I'm going to go Beaconsfield. I like their youth. They won another 8. I think that's 2 or 3 18s flags recently. They've won, and they've got kids coming out everywhere. The average age I think is 22, 23, but that's only good for the future, and I think Cranbourne have lost too many, so Beaky for me.
Let's move to Sunday, Wanda versus Berwick. This is going to be a cracker, surely.
There'll be a big crowd out there, Coach. You'll be there. You'll be there.
I'll be there, and I'll also...
You'll have to get there early to get a park.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't mind walking, as long as you give me a pass to get me in.
No.
Yeah, because they look at me and go, mate, you know, who are you? And then I've got game face all over. Yeah, sure.
Just hand them your seniors pass.
It's only $3.
I'm not that far away. I got something in the mail the other day, and I thought, how old am I now? I'm not that old, surely. But, well, I just think I'm going to change the subject while I can. I just think Wandon at home are going to surprise Berwick. I'm not saying they'll necessarily beat them, but I reckon this could be where we see, you know, I know it's a big year, we could see how they face up against each other. And I think Wandon will be within, if they don't win the game, which I probably don't think they will, I reckon they'll be within 2 or 3 goals.
So you're tipping Berwick to make that clearer. I'm agreeing it'll be a close game, and I think this one will have a massive crowd. It's been scheduled Sunday, so all the interest, like I said, all pre-season was how good are Berwick going to be. Yep. So everyone's going to come out there and they're going to see how good Berwick are because we know how good Wandon are. Smaller ground, again, Wandon have got some big key tools. Justin Van Unen kicked 96 goals, I think, off the top of my head last year, including finals. Daniel Gorringe has come in, top 10 draft pick from Gold Coast and Carlton. Michael Folks has come back to the club, so they've got a lot of goal-kicking power. Yep. They lost Brad Harvey and Robbie Ross. I'm going to go with Wandon. I think the small ground's going to really help them. Travis Tuck will like it, but I'm not sure how the rest of the Berwick players will like it. It'll be a lot easier for Money to be double-teamed with less space, and I think the tools there, Van Unen and Gorringe, I can't remember if Berwick had too many blokes that could play one-on-one.
Well, I look forward to your match report from that game next week. That's the Sunday game this week, and of course remember that, and the bye is Woori Yallock not playing this week. Let's move now to Division 1 upcoming games. Belgrave are playing Monbulk. Now, it's not at Monbulk, so they're used to playing on a tilt, so I don't know how they'll go. I've got to say it every week, because I just can't believe that ground. I love it.
Well, the ground's been fixed other than the tilt.
Other than the tilt. You've got to keep the tilt, don't you?
Yeah, and look, I'm a big Monbulk fan, so,
I love Monbulk.
So go you guys. They've been solid without being spectacular over the last few seasons, but I think we discussed earlier, they'll be top 4.
Yeah, they'll take advantage of the restructure. New coach Andrew Williams played almost 200 games for Collingwood and West Coast. Liking what he's doing down there. Monbulk, they haven't picked up too many big names, but they haven't lost anyone. Kept the list together. Good under 16s and good under 18s, so they'll be building for years to come. Belgrave will struggle this year, just the way it was. They couldn't announce their coach till late, unfortunately, but so I'm going to go with Monbulk. But I'll be there, so I'll be able to give you a bit of a report from that one as well.
Good. We're tipping Monbulk there. I've spent a lot of time out at Pakenham recently with the Melbourne Football Club with a partnership with the City of Casey. You're driving through Pakenham a lot. That's a long way out there.
It is a long way out.
Gunbuyer World's out there, out that way. So you haven't been out to Gunbuyer World recently.
Never.
You've never been.
Never.
You would have remembered way back in the start. It was just a toboggan down a slide. Now it's something fantastic. So I've given them a.
We'll have to go, Coach.
They need a sponsor. I didn't even know. We'll get onto that, would you, mate?
I don't know what you're talking about.
We get a sponsorship.
What is it?
We'll just go.
Gunbuyer World. They're on board they're on board at the Outer East Gunbuyer World. Final sponsor. So
many times. It's fantastic.
The game
they're on board. I'm on it.
The game is Pakenham versus Emerald. I'll hand it over, boys. Go for it.
Emerald, I was out training probably, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I mean, you can say this about all teams. They look focused, they look...
I looked good on the training track, to be fair, Coach. I was always good on the training track.
But and Pakenham, I suppose this is another one of those, how are they going to face up against these guys? I tended to think, I actually think Emerald, with what they've been doing over the last year or two, I reckon they can beat Pakenham.
Yeah, Emerald will improve this year. I don't think they'll make finals. They'd be hoping for 5th maybe. Pakenham, I haven't heard much about them, to be honest. They're one of the South East clubs where I don't know what's going on as much. But they're pretty well set up, but I think this year they'll be just looking to get a few more wins on the board. Struggled recently, so I'm tipping Emerald as well.
Nice big ground too. Nice big ground.
Speaking of beautiful spots on the planet, Mount Evelyn and Warburton, great places to go. Warburton, Millgrove. How do you reckon these two are going to against each other?
Mount Ev should win. Warby, you've got Brendan Murphy, club legend, back to the club, spent a few years at Hillsville, come back as senior coach. They've picked up a lot of players coming back to Warby, and his whole vibe was trying to get it back to that community feel. But Mount Ev, plenty of strength, probably should have made finals last year in the old Division 1, so they'll be up there as premiership favourites, I'd say. A chance at their first flag in the Yarra Range, well, in this new league since their EFL days, so I'm tipping Mount Ev.
Yeah, I'm going with you on that.
Mount Ev, both there. Dubton versus Officer Rock. This is a Good Friday game.
Yeah,
well, Dubton pretty much a brand.
It's a new side.
Pretty much a brand new team, so very hard to tip for them. So you'd have to go with Officer.
Yeah, Martin Stillman's come in, was coach at Forest Hill, now he's director of football at Dubton, and they're still recruiting blokes. They're still announcing blokes on Facebook and social media that they're still recruiting him with the week to go. So it'll be hard to see how they'll gel, but they didn't win a game last year. Yeah. So it can only go up from there. I think they'll make the finals, but I'm tipping Officer this week. I like what they're doing there under Doug Coop. Let's
rip straight into Division 2 upcoming games. Thornton, Eildon versus Yarra Glen. Matty, how are you seeing it?
Yeah, so Thornton Eildon last year, pretty poor. Only won one game for the club, I believe, and they've had a poor couple of years. And where they are up there, it's pretty hard. It's cyclical. It's very hard to be consistent. But they've recruited pretty well. Got a lot of young guys who are mates that are going to drive up from Melbourne out there. But Yarra Glen, they should have probably made the grand final last year, I thought, on season form. They failed sort of powered away in the finals. But Tim Eckers has come across from East Ringwood, Billy Gardner from Lewerdale in the AFL, big-bodied mids, and they've added some height as well with Nathan McCulloch from Kilsyth. So I think Yarra Glen will get the win there and they'll go deep again.
Oh, I'm going Shin Bonus.
You're going Shin Bonus?
I just like the name. Shin Bonus going...
Do you know what their ground's called?
No, I don't.
Bona Park.
Really?
You'll have to head out there.
You've got to send Harry money out. You want to get your money where you make your money where you get your...
Send
yeah, I was about to say.
I'm going to stay on that.
Let's get straight on to Yea versus Seville. Matty.
Seville made the grand final last year, 96-point loss, so they'll be hurting from that. They lost their leading goal kicker, Josh Neal, or second leading goal kicker to Lewerdale with Gareth Fraser. They say they've replaced them, and I believe they have replaced them, but have they replaced them with good enough players? Yea have recruited a couple more blokes. Ash Walsh is the coach out there. He's a great bloke, doing good things. It's out at Yea. There's something about Yea this year. I like them. I want to get out there. I want to see what Yea's about. Country town, and I think Yea are going to get the points.
I'm really looking forward to heading out to Yea at some stage during the year. They're an old, established club, I should say, been around a long time. 1893.
They're a proper country club too.
Yeah, and I think the Tigers might take the bickies there.
I love talking about this out East Premier Division and Div 2, Div 2, Div 1, Div 2. There's just some beautiful places on the planet. Gembrook Cockatoo versus Kinglake. Coach, you've been out to both these places. How are they looking?
I've got to be honest. I don't know a hell of a lot about these two teams, and I'll come clean with you guys. I'll get to know these teams over this season and the next two seasons. Matty'd have more of an idea, but I have heard good things about Gembrook Cockatoo. Matt, am I right in saying that they're preparing this season pretty well?
Yeah, Brad Coller's the new coach. Obviously, Hamish McIntosh is the big pickup, and they've already got Michael Frito, who's, I think the most you can get out of an AFL football coming back is to his own club. He's now captain. He's fully committed, so he's going to get a lot. He won't just sort of run in and do what he wants and come out. He's going to put his heart and soul into it. They won their first ever under-18 flag last year, and a lot of that youth will come up, and they've been leading the way on the track from all reports. So Gembrook finished 4th last year, which is probably a bit disappointing. They'll look to go deep. Kinglake have pretty much picked up the whole of Whittlesea, and they get a lot of recruits from the Northern Footy League. How they'll go, they're going to change their game style, less run and gun, a bit more tempo footy. Kinglake will improve, but Gembrook Cockatoo will be improved even more, and I'm going to go with the Brookers.
Same with you, Coach?
Yeah,
go with the Brookers? Yep, no worries. We'll move on to Powelltown versus Yarra Junction.
Yarra Junction, premiership last year, broke a massive drought. They've recruited 3 blokes from the Eastern Football League, Josh Hammond and Ewan Wadsworth coming back to the club after 2 years at Croydon, and David Johnson, who won a flag with Norwood a few years back in Division 1. If David Johnson turns up to play footy this year, he should go pretty well, I'd say. If David Johnson takes it pretty serious, he'll win the best and fairest for the competition, I think. He's a gun player, both ends of the ground, about 6'2", 3", but can play midfield, play forward, play back, can even play in the ruck. Powtown 100-year anniversary, 30-year premiership anniversary from their only ever flag in 1989, and their 2009 netball A-grade anniversary. So it's a big year for them. They've recruited hard. They'll make the finals, I think, Powtown, but Yarra Junction, if they've kept the list together and improved it, they should continue on their way, and I think it'll be the Eagles. Very,
very strong tradition in that club, been around since 1909, 12 flags, so there's something to play for, and as you said, Premier, so I'm going to the Eagles as well.
Good on you, mate, and of course a bye to Alexandra this weekend. Boys, that's been the Game Face Footy Show for the Outer East Division, Premier 1 and 2. I'm loving this because there is a bit of an us versus them vibe about the combining of the two.
And there will be, yes, for a while.
It just gives it a little bit of extra spice, doesn't it, for 2019. I can't wait to hear from you two next week when you come back to give us all the information about the games that we've just spoke about that's been played out. Are you excited for this weekend?
Yeah, pretty excited. Berwick, you said about that sort of us and them. This is the pinnacle of it. It's as if we planned it to be the first round, Coach. It'll be, most people don't really support Wandin or Berwick from their two different areas, but I think they're all going to be behind each other to see which is the best.
I think it's a bit, well, I won't say it was like a rehearsal last week, but it sort of was, wasn't it? You know, it was great. Those two teams played a great game. But yeah, this is the real stuff, so I'm excited by it, and I'm looking forward to getting out there and having a chat and meeting the people.
Coach, Matty Fodia, thank you very much for your time.
Well, it's a pleasure, Robert.
And don't forget about the Game Face app too. Go check out the Game Face app, it's just in your app store.
That's been the Game Face Footy Show. We'll see you next week. Thank you to our wonderful sponsors. At a ball, see you soon. See ya.